people who, you know, think I'm crazy, and they walk away and they're like, the government did it. I was like, yeah. And now we're not saying that the government did it. What we're saying is that they knew it was going down. That is obvious. They knew McVeigh was going to do it. They watched it happen. For some reason, they didn't stop it. And the cover-up after that, it's not that every street agent, every FBI agent on the scene is like trying to cover up government complicity. It was their truck. It was their informant. It was their bomb. How are they going to explain to the American people that something went wrong and their truck, their bomb, and their informant killed 168 people? They were in the agency.
Right. And since then, every FBI entrapped bomb maker or bomb plotter, they've been given deliberately fake bombs, we've seen, or bombs that wouldn't work, or they get stopped before it even comes to fruition. There, I remember seeing an article about the guy with the remote control bomb, but he was getting it from the FBI and the informant. You know, they were providing him the materials to create this remote controlled airplane bomb. And you know, did you see that story? Do you have any comments on that? Oh, yes. When you're looking at the last couple of years, all these FBI sting operations on terrorist operations, what usually happens is it's like an unemployed drifter. He gets on a jihadi website and he starts talking trash about the U.S. government. Mm-hmm. And then someone approaches him and they start cultivating a relationship. Well, that person obviously is an FBI undercover informant or an agent trying to cultivate this disgruntled loner. And then they give him a job. They brainwash him into wanting to bomb something in the United States. They tell him to do it. They give him fake bombs. Then they give him the cell phone to set it off. Then they arrest him. And that's obviously his entrapment. If the FBI had left these people alone, they'd still be working at McDonald's. That's all they'd be doing. They wouldn't be trying to bomb things. But the danger of that is, if they ever try to make this go live again, all they have to do is take one of these existing sting operations. They're going on right now all over the country. It's like every 2 weeks they arrest someone for trying to bomb something. These operations are going off all the time. For an operation to go live, all they have to do next time, instead of fake explosives, put in real ones. And then let it happen. And let it happen. Yeah. And then be right there all of a sudden with a description and a suspect that they've apprehended, and it's all nice and neat and fits into their little dandy tale. I was having a discussion 2 nights ago with a relative who came in to visit, and you know, I said, what are your thoughts on OKC? And he goes, well, you know, Timothy McVeigh, we got him. I said, well, and I started going into the evidence and the blast wave and the debris ending up on the other side of the blast wave, which is a physical impossibility. And then the other evidence with the tapes and Terrence Yakey being killed, and we'll go into that in a second. And he said, well, why do you think they would do this? And, you know, my answer, and at a gut level, I feel it's some sick form of job security. The more terror they can create and keep out there, you know, the more money they get for body scanners and militarized weapons and, you know, all this stuff to supposedly make us feel safe, which doesn't really make us feel safe, but it enriches these people who create this type of stuff. Yeah, well, you have the underwear bomber, and then the next week after that, they're rolling out the naked body scanners, which had already been ordered. Yeah. So yeah, it is. I mean, in 1995, there was a whole lot of job insecurity going on in the federal government. People were upset with the two-party system. We see with the popularity of the Ross Perot campaign. Oliver Stone's JFK had just been released. People were finally beginning to understand the nature of their government, and people were upset. Waco, Ruby Ridge, the ATF and the FBI were facing heavy heat. People were talking about dissolving the ATF. That could not be allowed to happen. No. Could not be allowed to happen. And you're right. I'm going to steal that phrase. It probably is a sick form of job security. Yeah, it really... Don, since you've retired, you've seen, you know, the police become militarized. How do you feel about that?
I regret it. I always relished in the thought that they referred to us as peace officers when I first hired on, and to the point now that you know, the common phrase is police officers, but they have become very militaristic and almost standoffish from the public themselves. I regret it. I don't understand why there has been the change that there is. The rank and file officer probably is not enjoying his career nearly like what myself and my generation of police officers did. And Don is not, you know, Don carried a machine gun in the jungles of Vietnam. Right. So he knows what the difference between war and peace. He's done both. And as a peace officer, he wants to secure the peace. He doesn't want to
He doesn't want to fight the American people, and that's what a lot of the police are doing these days. They have tanks, they have drones, and they're viewing the American people as the enemy. Well, actually, the homeland is now the battlefield.
Yeah. They've just moved the battlefield from Iraq and Afghanistan over to the United States, where they can have 330 million plus more victims to go after. Before we end this, let's get into Terry Yakey. I mean, how good of friends were you with him? Were you guys talking about this stuff during the investigation?
Yes, sir. We were talking about it. We were not socially extremely close friends. Workmates, yeah, and supportive of one another very much so. To the point that I would tease Terry and he would tease back, especially after his picture came out on Newsweek, that he was my hero and appreciated what he had done. And but again, Terry had a little bit of a closed side, such as I did. That there were some things that you just were very cautious about talking to other police officers about, and.
Because you don't know who's on which side at that point.
Exactly.
I've had two police officers actually come up to me out of the blue because I was actually passing out some flyers on the Oklahoma City bombing at an event. They were working security there, and they're from a different jurisdiction. And they walked up to me. They saw what I was doing. They said, "Hey, you remember that Oklahoma City cop?" I was like, "Who?" And they said, "The one that was found in that field." I was like, "Yeah." And the police officers, "Yeah, I think they killed him." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I know." I mean, the message was sent to law enforcement and the first responders: keep your mouth shut, or we will kill you. That was the literal lesson.
Right. And what was the reaction around the office when that happened, when they found Terry Yakey and they said, "Oh, it's a suicide"?
There was a lot of disbelief. We were told, even by our chaplain, that Terry was drunk and was high on drugs at the time of his death. That didn't fit Terry. And when the ME report finally was released, it showed no blood alcohol content, no drugs in the system.
But by that time, they'd already had the story out that he was drunk and high, and that had been playing around for weeks. And
yes, sir, and that it was related to marital trouble.
They slandered his character. The superiors within the police department slandered his character after he died. Before he died, he was a hero. He was a hero. He was 3 days away from receiving the Medal of Valor, the highest award the department can offer. And then after he dies, suddenly Terry's a scumbag.
Right. Makes you wonder. Jeez. And who knows what kind of evidence he had if he would have been able to bring it forward and what they got from him.
Well, when his car was found in El Reno, the patrolman reported that there were several boxes of documents in the back seat. When that car was processed for evidence, there was no mention of anything in that car, document-wise.
How convenient. Jeez. Well, Don, I want to give you the last word on this. I want you to look out and talk to people, especially police officers, who may know of this stuff or may have been in on a cover-up or something. I mean, what do you have to tell them, in order for us to get this country back, we have to start telling the truth and coming up with this. I want to give you the last word to tell, what are your final feelings on, coming forward and what other people should do if they feel like they know something and that, they should bring it forward. What do you want to say?
I would say to them that our integrity and loyalty are the only two things that we have to sell to the American public. And if we cannot maintain those, then we should not be police officers. That's not the involvement work field that we should be in. And if we can't be true to the public, at least we should try to be true to ourselves. And I regret it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, guys, I thank you for joining us. It was about a 30-minute interview we just did, and that's great. I really think this information, it's time for it to come out again, and I think people are ready for it now because they've seen the utter corruption that's going on in their face, the stealing, the police brutality that's going on, and people are ready to be woken up. And this is just another pill, to help do that. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, and we're definitely going to have you guys on in the future and promote this film.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, and that was Holland Vanden Nieuwenhof and Don Browning, retired OKC police officer. And, of course, you can get A Noble Lie here at the INFOWARS store. It's available, $19.95. I think they're in their second pressing now, so it's getting getting a flood of popularity out there, and this is something you really need to show, as Alex has said, to police officers, to military people, people who don't believe in the official story. Sit down and say, well, look, if you don't believe in the official story, let's sit down for 2 hours, watch this film, and then talk about it. That's all you need, 2 hours, and if you still don't believe it after watching this film, fine, I won't bother you anymore. But I think you're going to find people who have common sense and who have dignity and who have honesty, and they've just had the wool pulled over their eyes. You know, they're going to come to that realization, and we're going to have more people out there who know the truth and who are ready to take it, you know, to the next level, because we're going to have to keep talking about these kinds of things until we stop the corruption and you know, and take our country back and for what the founders meant it to be, a place of liberty and freedom, where people can come and do what they want and make the money that they want and do the things that they want, fulfill their dreams. And you know, that's pretty much all I have to say. Please consider becoming a subscriber here at PrisonPlanet.tv. You can watch the INFOWARS Nightly News. We're producing it 5 nights a week. And if you want to send me an email with your suggestions, robd@infowars.com. I love hearing your suggestions. This is my second time hosting now, and after the first, I got a lot of great emails, a lot of encouragement, a lot of guest suggestions, and I do appreciate it. We're looking at everything that you guys send in, and you know, please consider becoming a member. If you're not, if you're watching this on YouTube, spread it around, let people know, because this is information that really needs to come out, and I sincerely believe that, or I wouldn't be here spending, you know, 5 days a week, 10, 11 hours a day doing it. And I want to thank the crew out there. And we'll be back next week. Alex is going to have a special on Monday with Ron Paul, some vintage Ron Paul clips that you've probably never seen. And let me tell you, the guy doesn't change. He is the same person back in 1988 that he is today. It's the same guy running for president. And it's time that we get somebody with a little bit of honor and with a lot less baggage in there, so he can't be controlled by those with the purse strings. And for that, I'm Rob Dew, and this is INFOWARS Nightly News. We'll see you around.